Hello, Emily. How are you tonight?
I'm very good. How are you?
Awesome, I'm fine. You look very lovely.
Oh, I thank you. You look quite dapper yourself.
Thank you very much. Alright, so you identify yourself as bisexual, right?
Yes, I do.
And do you mind telling me why is that?
Um, well, I I guess for the simplest of terms, I find myself attracted to both men and women, and I'm currently in a relationship with a man, but if that does end up crashing and burning, I am completely open to finding happiness with a woman. So we'll see.
That's fantastic. Awesome. Alright, and the second question I have for you is did you have trouble coming out?
Um, I guess you could say that. I was more confused because I was like, oh no, I have these feelings and I don't know what to do with them. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
But once I came to terms with my own sexuality, I find that everyone who has been close to me, so my friends and my family, have been very accepting of my sexuality and they still love me for me. So, yay, I love them too.
Awesome. And were you ever intimidated or bullied or whatever because of that?
Not actually, no. For the most part, I try to surround myself with very inclusive people, and though I do openly identify, I don't believe many people at my school know about my sexuality, so it's not been a very big deal for people at school, and the people who I associate with outside of school have been very, very supportive.
Good, awesome, good for you. And what is your view on homophobia?
I think that homophobia is a social construct of people who fear what they may not be used to. So sadly, I find that because non-heterosexual couples seem to be the minority, people are like, oh no, oh no. Even though there's absolutely nothing wrong with two men, two women, or two people of any sort of gender or sex to be together because it really doesn't matter. And I find sometimes people can be like, I don't like it, even though it doesn't affect them. So I personally hate homophobia. One of my biggest things. It sucks. It's bad. Bleh.
I'm with you. Props on that.
Online props.
Yes. Okay. And last question, right?
Okay.
So you've told me that you're in this gay straight alliance. Now, what is your role and what do you guys do in there?
In the Gay Straight Alliance at my high school, we plan inclusivity events. We attend various workshops. So we recently just got back from our conference-wide GSA board day where schools from all over the district met. We had workshops on various issues, such as Trans 101 and just an inclusivity workshop. We had a really cool coffee house where we all got to show our various talents, and we also had a guest speaker who talked about his experience as an openly gay man. But at the school, we host Pink Shirt Day, which is a day for anti-bullying. We hold our own coffee houses. When the Olympics were going on, we had a Olympic Pride campaign, as we called it.
Mm.
So we got support from students for the LGBTQ community in Russia, which was being persecuted and still is.
Mm-hmm.
And we just try and create generally a very safe, open environment for everybody in the school, but focusing obviously on the LGBTQ community.
That's awesome. Good for you. And
Thank
good for your school. Speaking
you.
of
Go
the...
Rams!
Sorry, go ahead, say that again.
Go Rams!
Go Rams. Alright. Um, Speaking of the issue with Russia and the Olympics and, the LGBT community being, like, shoved out or discriminated against, how do you feel about that? Do you think Russia has the right
Um,
to do it?
I think Russia has absolutely no right against or to be able to do that. Russia decriminalized homosexuality. Also, that just sounds stupid. It's illegal for you to love who you love.
Mm-hmm. I guess
Anyway,
so, yeah.
they decriminalized it in the 1980s, and then with these propaganda laws, they made it seem that homosexuality was some sort of perverted lifestyle, which clearly it's not. So they set very unrealistic and just homophobic and discriminatory laws in society, which has opened the floodgates for homophobic attacks on people.
Right.
And I think that Russia has absolutely no right to do that. So it's up to the first worlds and the developed worlds and countries where people have they have the right to openly criticize and openly stand in solidarity with people, like people in Canada, to really raise the awareness and try and push for our lawmakers to change what's going on in Russia.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad you feel repelled by their movements.
Absolutely appalled.
Now, you are religious, yes?
Yes, I am.
And how do you feel about the fact that sometimes there are people, or rather extremists, in basically almost every religion, who will hate against, gays?
I think, again, it's a very, very discriminatory practice, and it's very hypocritical, in my opinion, for people to discriminate using religion, because as someone who has grown up in the church for 17 years, I know that religion is based off of love and acceptance and welcoming the person who may be less fortunate. That's not just in Christianity, but in in many, many, many religions. That's the base roots, is acceptance and patience and love.
Mm-hmm.
So people, I think, are just taking a very small, minute section of the Bible or their religious books and exploiting that. And we also have to remember that when those religious texts were written, it was 2,000 plus years ago. So the time frames and the cultures were completely different. And I also find a lot of times, sadly, people will focus in on the fact that religion discriminates against the gays, like the Westboro Baptist Church, I'm sure everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they will ignore the thousands of other things the Bible says. Like, according to the Bible, if you cut your hair, it's bad. If you eat pork, it's bad. If you go shopping on Sundays, it's bad. So I think sometimes people will just be like, oh, well, the Bible says this, and then they ignore everything else. So I think people have to take it at a wider range.
Good arguments. So apparently we're all going to hell.
A little bit.
Alright. And last question. Let's say there was a homophobic person behind me, okay? What would you say to them?
Well, I think I'd have to bite my tongue a little bit, or maybe be like, oh! But really, I think I would have to say, I really hope one day that you see the fact that the choices two people make have no effect on you, and people will love who they love regardless of their sex or gender. So it makes no sense to try and be like, no. So homosexuality isn't a sin, it isn't wrong, it's not a medical disease, it's not some crazy awful thing that happens. It's love.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being an awesome interviewee.
Oh, well, thank you for having such an awesome interview prepared.
Thank you. I actually improvised all the questions.
Hey!
So, yeah.
Wouldn't have even known.
Alright. I hope you have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night yourself.
Thank you very much.